Hello there, nuclear engineers. Rhadamant here. Thank you for tuning in to RimWorld Frostwardens. Episode 90, entering a low power mode. As you can see above my head, the current priority, and it will continue to be the current priority, is to force a reactor shutdown. To talk about this in a little bit more detail, what's going to end up happening is as the uranium-powered arc burns through its uranium fuel, it will continually generate less and less power over time. And eventually, when it gets down to zero, it will be a forced shutdown. And in order to upgrade our arc chamber, we need to force a shutdown. My head's a little bit in the way, but what it says is uranium power arc needs to be restarted. To do that, it needs to burn all the uranium and shut down due to a lack of fuel. So, to that end, the way to prepare for this is actually quite expensive. As the generator here produces less and less fuel over time, it also means that it will provide significantly less power to our base. So what we need to do is we need to prepare to basically be running on battery power, because there's really not a reasonable alternative. So at the end of last stream, I started to build this battery bank, but honestly, how many batteries do I have? I have 30 batteries that can store 400 watts or 800 watts a piece. This battery bank that I've got, these 30 batteries, honestly might not be enough. I don't think they will be. So the real push right now is going to be to prepare for the arc reactor shutdown, which is to say mining up more iron, turning the iron to steel and components, and then turning those components into more batteries. And yes, the uranium-powered arc is glowing green, but it is not bleeding out radiation yet. Not yet. Yet being an important word there. So, in the hopes of preparing for the reactor shutdown, we need to spool up the iron mining, meaning that the southern mining path needs to become active again. And we need to start using that in a big way. It also means that I'm planning on essentially halting the advanced components, because we don't need them at the moment, build, and halting the recon armor builds, and focusing on just components, because the batteries are going to require a lot of components. So the main push is to get steel and coal. We have a lot of coal actually right now. So the main push is honestly to get a whole bunch of steel. And then it also wouldn't be a terrible idea to stockpile on uranium. We have a lot of uranium now, but knowing that uranium is our new fuel source, we're going to need even more uranium going forward. What is likely to happen as we whittle down the amount of fuel loaded up into the uranium-powered arc is we will have to turn off like grow tables and grow lights and really shut down a whole lot of the things in our base to conserve power. So additionally, to prepare for that, it would be very wise of us to try to stockpile as much food as possible ahead of time. Meaning, we had voted previously, and it was one of the voted session goals, that we grow hops for the pilgrims always. But we might need to make a focus on trying to either lure more insects so that we can rely on insect meat. And given that we're heading into the winter, it would be a good time to spin up our insect trap again. So that we could functionally supplement more food to our people. Because I think both farms, when the reactor is on low power mode, are going to have to shut down. It also means that we might be in for eating some nutrifungus. There's no rules to say I can't eat it. I'm just not looking forward to it because it's yucky. The technical term, it's yucky. Seeing that we have a lot of idleness in and around the colony, and also might not be a terrible time to build up a bit of a supply of uranium. Making sure that we have plenty of uranium going forward, and also plasteel. So we have the uranium, we don't have the plasteel, so I'm also going to work on the plasteel. So we've got 600 steel right now, and I think what I want to do is expand this out more for an even larger battery bank. as I said, as we go into the low power mode, we are going to very heavily rely on battery power to keep things running. And I don't really want to be in a situation where we don't have any power in the base, because no power heading into the winter is pretty deadly. It's actually one of the big worries that I have is if I am gearing up for a forced shutdown, that forced shutdown will coincide with like some of the colder temperatures in the colony. So I'm a little worried about even attempting a forced shutdown heading into winter, because that sounds like a really bad time. And even right now, with us having shut down a lot of stuff in our base, the batteries are not charging. We're not in a net positive. What it could do is a arc overdrive, rapidly burn through more fuel and generate more energy. And I think I'm going to enable that just so that the new batteries I'm putting in start to get charged up. One of the things that you can do is to try to time an arc overdrive so that you are overdriving towards the end of fuel, but you don't actually let the overdrive run out of fuel. Because if the arc reactor, the uranium-powered arc reactor, runs out of fuel during overdrive, it breaks down and requires our components to repair, which are really, really expensive. We don't want to run out of fuel in our arc during an overdrive. So what you can try to do is load up just enough fuel so that the arc overdrive brings you all the way to like a few fuel from the goalpost, so you're generating power up until right at the end of the overdrive. And that's actually might be what I try to do, is min-max like an overdrive coinciding with the forced shutdown. Because otherwise the amount of power that we'll have to store in our batteries is going to be immense, and I'm not really sure we want to build that battery bank. So I guess the question is, should I build more batteries or try to finesse an overdrive shutdown? Pretty simple goal, or pretty simple poll. Have you vote on those? I could do a bit of both. Yeah, certainly. There's nothing functionally wrong with doing a bit of both. I'm also going to move the battery bank that I had previously built. I might actually change this entirely. I'm trying to think about how to secure the batteries well. I have a lot of raw material in terms of like stone and the like. So making sure that the batteries are staying secure and safe so they can't be destroyed is kind of the most important thing that I could do. And to that end, oh, sorry, Slotus. Here, get yourself out of there. I think what I want to do is bump this wall out one, and then design like a better battery bank storage system so that they don't easily get chain destroyed or anything like that. Alright, so I see the components getting cooked up by Zeusin. And then the iron is getting mined up and brought in for steel production. And the batteries are starting to top up. We have 14,000 watts stored. Now the other thing you have to consider is what is our daily use, right? Storing 14,000 watts sounds like a lot of power, but if we use like 5,000 watts a day, that's, you know, barely that's not even 3 days of power. Pod drop raids in the base? No. This security is more about breachers than about pod drop raiders. Trying to design like a layout which prevents breachers and sappers from destroying the entire battery bank, because breachers often will attack with frag grenades, and if you know, if we had breachers drop frag grenades on our battery banks, that would be a lot of destruction. That would not be good. So compartmentalizing it seems like a reasonable choice. Oh, wait, I'm doing this wrong already. Alright, there we go. And it looks like you guys mostly want more batteries. Finessing a shutdown does not win. And cheers. Happy Sunday to you. So what, Stash, what would your assessment about that, like, RuneScape-esque game be? What was it? Bitcraft? What was it called? Because I was never really a RuneScape player, but it did look fun. Oh, well, that wasn't the last thing you were playing anyway. That doesn't help. So we're down to 43 fuel. And if we can keep the... I might try to do both. I might not try to min-mix the arc shutdown, but using this arc overdrive to bring down our fuel count in order to prepare for like an arc brownout might be a really good compromise. So the design plan here is to wall off each battery bank in its own, like, secured area, so that they're not easily compromised by raiders or anyone. So I think you can get a sense of the design here. And I'll make sure they're all wired up once we're done moving them all. Yeah, that looks pretty good. The other reason is if we ever, like, let's say got Doomsday launched or something tragic like that, one of the advantages of the bank system we have going on right now is they could only damage so many batteries at once, because they're all separated out from one another. So the battery bank's a little bit expanded. I don't know how many total this will be. 35? So it's, or no, 36. So it's 6 more batteries than it previously had, and they're a lot more secure as well. You know, the events are not a thing here, so watching so many batteries together makes you nervous. Yeah, well, the only way to get a feedback event is to not to use something other than hidden conduit. So I'm not really running in a situation where I could have like a power feedback explosion, fortunately. But I understand. From someone that has played RimWorld for over a decade, seeing this many batteries in one place is a little sketchy. I just know that it isn't really a risk because of the way the Zzz event works. Like how it doesn't even have a proper name. It's just Zzz. Also looks like we are building up a rice supply, which is good. Because I did mention that we would need a surplus of food, because it's likely during the shutdown we will stop farming. Now, the only worry they have with that is the Devil Strand might not be harvestable in full before the reactor runs on low fuel. And we wouldn't really want a situation where the Devil Strand dies in the cold because we're doing a forced shutdown event. Alright, so all of the steel and components have been delivered to these batteries. All we need to do is just physically build them. Looking good. And as I suspected, we basically used all 700 or whatever of our steel. There we go. They're filling up. Alright, with that in mind, what could I do to reduce our power need? I will say, I think it is not inappropriate at this point to potentially turn on the trap again. It's way cold, and if any insect faction spawns in there, they're just going to die from the cold pretty easily. So I don't worry too much about that. What else can I turn off? I would say the fab bench is pretty important to like build up our component supply again, but soon we'll be able to turn that off. Because we are, despite the fact that we're doing an overdrive, we're only in a power excess of about 1,000 watts, which is really not much at all. I could stockpile nutrient paste, but I think most of the power requirements right now are as a result of like heaters. They're just keeping things heated and warmed. So once I have a decent supply of steel again, you know what? Actually, taking a look at this, we have a lot of, well, we already have a decent amount of plasteel, but we have a lot to smelt. Once we have a little bit more iron to smelt into steel, I'll probably turn off this mining tunnel because that will save me like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. It'll save me about 1,200 watts of power or so. Just turning this mining shaft off from all of the individual heaters and drills. Yeah, these batteries are not even... I'm still in overdrive mode. But it's because the fuel amount is running low. Alright, let's go ahead and start conserving power. Now, worst case scenario, if we are going to brown out in the entire colony, and it looks like it's going to be a problem, I can always add more fuel to the uranium arc, so that we don't have, like, a death on our hands as a result of, like, a power outage. But what I might end up doing is going around the base and seeing, like, this heater, for instance, could be probably shut off. And just shutting off all the heaters that aren't, like, immediately necessary to try to conserve power. So, what I don't have, I just realized, is a switch for this northern tunnel track. Although, if I want insects... Never mind. I think what I'll do is I'm going to add that switch in. I'll put a switch here. And that will allow me to easily flick these two heaters and all the associated lights off. I could deep drill wood for campfires, yeah. We can't produce power without the wood-powered arc, but we can produce heat through wood burning. It's not efficient, but it's possible. But I think what might be best is just to try to conserve as much power as we can, charge up the batteries as much as we can, and then as we approach the fuel zero date, turn everything off that we are able to turn off. So maybe what I'll do is start massively stockpiling nutrient paste, because I don't think we're going to have anything else to cook in the stove, because we're out of insect meat. And just getting ready for, like, colony hibernation mode, if you will. Turning off the lights sounds useful. The thing is, they don't really use a lot of wattage. It's 15 watts per light, so one heater is worth like 9 lights or something like that. So it's really the heaters which are the issue. Because each heater is like 175 watts. So, 11 and 2/3. I just did the math. So almost 12 lights equals 1 heater. So if I'm shutting off heaters, that's like half the battle. There is the like Dubs power management mod. I don't know if it's updated to 1.5. I haven't used it in a while, but it shows you all the things in your colony that uses power, so that you can figure out where your power drains are. My power drains primarily are probably my hydro benches and my grow lights. I already know that, and I want to keep them on as long as I'm able. You didn't know they use so little? Yeah, the floodlights you use is 50, so this floodlight's a little bit more power hungry than the wall lights. But when you research advanced lighting, it reduces the amount of power that lights use. So advanced lights allows you to color your lights, and it also reduces the power consumption by half of regular lights. So the advanced lights research will drop the wattage needed from 30 to 15. And 15 watts per light. I have 41 lights. So that's the equivalent of like 4 heaters. It's not to say that turning them off wouldn't benefit me to some degree, but it's not going to be like life-changing in terms of power saved. So I can turn some of the less useful ones off, but I don't want people to be in the dark. The other issue, of course, is if everyone's in the dark for too long, there's the risk of mental breaks as a result of being in the dark, right? I don't, plus we made campaign promises to have a lit and heated mining tunnels. So actually, to that end, I think, given those campaign promises, these heaters need to be on, because this tunnel out to the farm, I have essentially promised to stay heated and lit. Axios is eating insect jelly? Is that allowed? I don't recall ever allowing that. Oh, and jelly. Yeah. I did. That's right. Boy, are they ever eating jelly. Alright, Brazit. I'm sorry to pick on you, but I know you're hungry, so I'm going to have you batch up some nutrient paste. I haven't batched nutrient paste in a while. I don't think I'm going to be able to batch enough nutrient paste. Actually, you know, let's try. I think what I'll aim to do is batch up so much nutrient paste that we don't have to turn the NPM on for a while. Because even if we do, not having to keep the NPM on full time will save a whole lot of, oh yeah, you never haul. We'll save, I'll ultimately save a lot of, power. Because it's not just like 200 watts once, it's 200 watts all the time. Oh, Tannering's already doing it. Oh, someone got food poisoning. From the jelly. Given we're in hibernation mode, I'm not too concerned about sicknesses as a result of food poisoning, because it's not like anyone's doing anything. I mean, we might have some raids, but it's pretty low risk. Madsen's like, quit picking on me. Sorry, dude. Alright, we have 211 nutrient paste meals. We'll keep adding to the... I like how they're just walking on the meals. Squishy floor. Okay, I'm done with them working on that. What does that switch lead to? That's to the nutrient paste? Okay. Yeah, perfect. Alright, well, we're still, so we're in grid excess negative, thereabouts. The batteries are almost topped up. And, the next thing I could do is, given that we probably have enough food, I'm gonna go ahead and, well, maybe what I'll do is I'll wait until the cotton plants are at least starting to be harvestable, so we don't lose a whole harvest of it. And then, oh, yeah, there we go. And then harvest the cotton and turn off this farm. This farm is a major power drain. You know, 25 benches, 4 heaters, a grow light. This thing requires more power than really any other room in the entire colony. And the reason why I'm turning that one off and not this one off is the one up here still has double strand that could really stand to grow a bit more. As double strands, rather precious. Well, that will definitely help. Oh, was that switch there? Yeah, okay, hold on. This switch... Oh, no, this switch is for the northern tunnels. Shoot. Gotta turn that back on, because I just turned the light... I should probably fix that, huh? I'm gonna change the way the northern area is powered on. Because I don't want it to be from this switch. That doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. So let's reroute that. Actually, I don't even want it on a switch. Come to think of it. I don't want the ability to, like, shut it off. Because it really doesn't need to ever be turned off. Not from down here. Beer brewing's in this room. Won't it fail if the heating's off? Yes, it will be ruined by temperature if it's there. Our workshop might be the warmest building. But if we're not currently crafting this room, I may turn off the workshop too. Shut the workshop down for the hibernation mode. Meaning we don't really have the ability to brew beer anywhere. I'm okay with that as long as we have we only have 80 beer. I know what to do. I mean, it is the pilgrims that want the beer, right? So, let's have the pilgrims brew it in their own... in the Union Hall. Heating the Union Hall up enough with a heater or two to allow for it. I'm not gonna fix the cable, I'm too lazy. Alright, the batteries are almost topped up. That farm's now off. Yeah, let's turn off the fab bench. It wouldn't be terrible to have a switch for the entire workshop, but I don't suspect I'm going to be turning off the workshop too often. So maybe that doesn't really matter. Let's go ahead and move this heater into the Pilgrim Hall. And this heater reset to room temp. And I hope it brings the temperature of this room up to brewing temps. It seems to be. Yeah. So I think we can brew in this room, because it will stay warmer than 45. It's in fact, significantly, other than this farm, the warmest room in the colony. I could have also put the brewing tanks here, too. Now I thought about it. It didn't occur to me at the time, but obviously that would be a pretty valid spot. It's not even that far from where the hops are grown. So, Arc Overdrive. I think we have one more day of overdrive driven power, and then we're going to be in really low power mode. I like how they just keep eating the insect jelly and vomiting and eating more jelly. We're almost out of jelly, so it will stop soon. But it's like, guys, come on. Quit puking your brains out. Just leave the jelly alone. And they just don't. They just, you know. They just keep going back to it. Hair of the dog, I guess. Yeah, the research lab should have been off. There we go. I hadn't realized it was connected to the wrong cabling. Union Hall is disrespected because of work facilities. Apparently brewing tanks are work facilities. So maybe I will put the casks up here. Because the game's pissing and moaning about me having the casks where they were. That's fine. And, like, everybody in the colony's idle right now. Probably with bated breath, like, waiting to see if the experiment works. Because this is very much experimental. We had only just gotten a uranium reactor, and now we are trying to shut it down. Like, imagine being in this situation, being in their shoes, and being like, alright, so here's your brand new power source. Now let's mess with it in a very significant and possibly damaging way. Oh joy. So we are burned about half of our fuel. And the remaining other half of the fuel will have to last us what remains of the, you know, of the time, burn time. Hoping it's okay. I'm trying to think of other things that I could do in wait and preparation. We're gonna run the only generator on the planet until it runs out of fuel? Yeah, basically yes. When this fuel source runs down, it might be the last generator, the last spark of power on the entire planet will have gone out. Well, lucky for them, it's like a 24/7 party. Taking their minds off of things. That's a rough way to tailor. In the dark, in the cold. Nope, apparently she's a masochist. Well, she is a masochist. Her masochism caused her to make a masterwork. Tannering is starving. Why? Oh, NPM and jelly is now gonna be the meal for everybody. At least that will cut down on the food poisoning. And then these casks are, for now, warm enough. And I'm hoping to not have to cut that northern farm, so the Devil Strand production doesn't get killed. So this farm uses... nah, that's a lot of heaters. 175 times, what was that, 7? 6? So that's 1,050 watts of heating, plus the grow light, which isn't, of course, on all the time, but when it's on, that's almost 4K watts, plus the 8 hydro basins at 70 apiece. Yeah. That farm is, well, it's a pricey one to run. The total cost up there is about, what, 4,500 watts to run this? And the power output of our generator at the moment is only twice that, and it's decreasing. Again, just a reminder, the amount of current uranium loaded up into the Ark determines its power output. So, the more fuel you load up, the more power it makes. The less fuel you load up, the less power it makes. And, as our fuel approaches zero, our power output will approach zero. So, that's why we are, why we got all these batteries. And to further explain, it's because in order to upgrade the Ark, we need to run it to zero. It's the prerequisite for the upgrade. So in order to reach our goal, and our goal, of course, is here, which is complete the Ark project. Completing the Ark project would be to build a fully upgraded Ark. We need to do the power zero. Hey, See to Keep, thank you for the resub. Cheers. Oh, you still have jelly in your pockets. You know what would help them blow off steam? If there was targets to shoot at. I mean, I know it's negative 70 out. So maybe what we'll do is once the power output here... I think in about a day, we need to harvest the Devil Strand and shut this stuff down. It does look like we're going to get at least a partial neutrofungal harvest out of it, which is like an emergency ration for food. So there's at least a silver lining going forward here. A lot of this nutrifungus is nearly grown, and then of course the Devil Strand is nearly grown. So could be worse. So the current priority is prepare for a reactor shutdown. I could divide the farm and turn off some heaters. You know, if I really worried about it, what I could do, because the rot timers of things like Devil Strand is pretty long, is put a bunch of wood burning stuff in here and like shut down the power, but keep the heat going. Should I try to wood heat the Eclipse farm? So it means that the Devil Strand won't grow, but it won't die. Thank you for tuning in to RimWorld Frostwardens, which originally streamed live on Twitch. If you have any feedback or questions for me, let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to catch a live stream of mine, Rhadamant.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If you'd like to join my online gaming community on Discord, Rhadamant.com has a link to it, as does the description of this video. Thank you so very much for watching. Special thank you to my Twitch subscribers, Patreon patrons, and viewers like you that support the channel and made it all the way to the credits. Thank you so very much. I hope to catch you next episode or an upcoming stream. Farewell, fellow Frostwardens.